I am checking for everybody's notebooks to be out and open to their Part 4 vocabulary. We are adding on. We are not finished with Part 4 yet. Ethan, your vocab notebook is already out. We are not finished with Part 4. So we're going to draw a squiggly line underneath number 3. Oh, yep. So draw a squiggly line underneath number 3, and we are going to label this part as wonder, part 4. Wonder, part 4. Bless you. Open it up to wonder, part 4. We're adding on. Draw a squiggly line underneath number 3 to show that we're starting a new part. And then we're going to title it Wonder, Part 4. Chapters. I forgot to abbreviate it, but you may abbreviate it if you would like. Chapters 13 through 16. We did not have any new vocabulary for the part that you listened to with Miss Burns. So we're starting with number 4. Oh, I forgot. We have to underline it because it's a title. And we're starting with number 4. Oh, I also forgot the date. November 10th, thank you, 2020. So at the top, you have Wonder, Part 4, Chapters 13 through 16. It is underlined because it is a title. And then you have today's date, November 10th, 2020. We're starting with number 4, and it is the word inkling. Inkling. I-N-K-L-I-N-G. I-N-K-L-I-N-G. Inkling. That I has a long E sound. Inkling. Now this may look like a compound word because we have I-N-K, which is ink, but it's not because L-I-N-G is not a word. So even though sometimes we have small words, does not mean it's always a compound word. So inkling is a noun. It is a noun, a person, place, thing, or idea. In this case, it is a thing. It is a feeling. And it means a vague idea, or a blurry or, or partial understanding. So an inkling is a noun. It is a vague idea. Vague means it's not clear, but it is there. Or a blurry or partial understanding. Remember we learned in math that partial means part. It's not the whole thing. It's just a part of it. So you understand part of something if you have an inkling, but not the whole thing. So inkling, I-N-K-L-I-N-G, is a noun. It means a vague idea. So there's an idea there, but it's not clear. Or a blurry or partial understanding of something. Does anybody need me to spell any words? Aaron. Partial. Partial is spelled P-A-R-T-I-A-L. Partial, like partial products. Victoria.
Are these Cullen's words?
What? Yes, they are Cullen's words. Yes, Zadie.
Understanding.
Understanding is U-N-D-E-R-S-T-A-N-D-I-N-G. Remember, make sure short letters are short, tall letters are tall, letters with the tail go under the line. When you're checking, check every single letter of every single word to make sure it's exactly the same. We have no capital letters, no proper nouns. Kingston.
So the comma after the big idea is going to be
Not a semicolon. No, it's just a comma. It is separating the two different definitions. So here it is in context. So as we're reading the story, I want you to be listening for it so you can understand why it's being said. Although I don't know the details, I have an inkling about what may have sparked the confrontation with Julian. So be listening for inkling. Who's saying it? Why did they have this inkling? Who are they talking to? What are they talking about? Number 5 is the word empathy. Empathy. E-M-P-A-T-H-Y. Empathy. E-M-P-A-T-H-Y. Empathy. Empathy. E-M-P-A-T-H-Y. Yes, Zadie. Sorry, don't forget to mute yourself.
And the P and the Y go into the line.
Yes, the P and the Y both have tails, so they go under the line. So make sure that your P and your Y only take up half of the top line and then go down below the bottom line. Okay, empathy is another noun, which is a person, place, thing, or idea. In this case, empathy is an idea. It is an idea. It's not something we can see or touch, not something we can feel with our hands. We feel it in here, or in here. And it means sharing of another person's feelings. Make sure that you have the possessive noun persons because the person has feelings. Empathy is a noun. It is sharing of another person's feelings. So that means you share those feelings too. You feel what they are feeling. You have empathy for a person and their situation because you feel what they are feeling. Synonyms for empathy are compassion and kindness. Compassion means the same is a synonym. That means it has the same meaning as empathy. Kindness is kind of a synonym. But it doesn't mean exactly the same thing all the time. Yes, Aaron, do you need me to spell a word? Which word? Compassion. Compassion is spelled C-O-M-P-A-S-S-I-O-N. Compassion. Any other word need spelled? Kingston. I can't hear you. And then ness. Well, it doesn't, so. It would not be a word. You would say kindness, but that's not a word. Kindness. Okay, so empathy. E-M-P-A-T-H-Y It is a noun, in this case an idea. It means sharing of another person's feelings. Its synonyms are compassion and kindness. Here it is in context. So as you're listening to the story, be listening for this part to know who's talking, what are they talking about, who are they talking to. In fact, I thought it would teach them a thing or two about empathy and friendship and loyalty. So as you're reading, you're going to listen, or you're going to think, who's saying it? Who are they saying it to? What do they mean? What's happening in this situation? Okay, so those are the only 2 words. So go ahead, put your notebooks away. Okay, go ahead and open your book to page 160. Make sure you're listening for our words, inkling and empathy. Now this chapter 13 is a bunch of letters, emails, Facebooks, and texts. So make sure that you are following along with your finger so that you truly understand what is being said. Because if you're just listening and not following along, it might be hard to understand what's going on. But when you can see it in front of you, you'll be like, oh, okay, I understand. So everybody, finger ready to begin on page 160. Make sure you're following along with your finger. That way you know exactly where we are. Finger ready to follow along. Chapter 13, letters, emails, Facebook, text. December 18th. Dear Mr. Tushman, I am very, very sorry for punching Julian. It was very, very wrong for me to do that. I am writing a letter to him to tell him that too. If it's okay, I would really rather not tell you why I did what I did, because it doesn't really make it right anyway. Also, I would rather not make Julian get in trouble for having said something he should not have said. Very sincerely, Jack Will. December 18th. Dear Julian, I am very, very, very sorry for hitting you. It was wrong of me. I hope you are okay. I hope your grown-up tooth grows in fast. Mine always do. Sincerely, Jack Will. Remember, make sure you're following along so that you can understand this, how it's set up. December 26th. Dear Jack, thank you so much for your letter. One thing I've learned after being a middle school director for 20 years, there are almost always more than 2 sides to every story. Although I don't know the details, I have an inkling about what may have sparked the confrontation with Julian. While nothing justifies striking another student, ever, I also know good friends are sometimes worth defending. This has been a tough year for a lot of students, as the first year of middle school usually is. Keep up the good work and keep being the fine boy we all know you are. All the best, Lawrence Tushman, Middle School Director. To L. Tushman at beecherschool.edu. So now we pass the letters to the emails. CC John Will at phillipsacademy.edu, Amanda Will at copperbeach.org, from Melissa Albans at rmail.com. Subject, Jack Will. Dear Mr. Tushman, I spoke with Amanda and John Will yesterday, and they expressed their regret at Jack's having punched our son Julian in the mouth. I am writing to let you know that my husband and I support your decision to allow Jack to return to Beecher Prep after a 2-day suspension. Although I think hitting a child would be valid grounds for expulsion in other schools, I agree such extreme measures aren't warranted here. We have known the Will family since our boys were in kindergarten and are confident that every measure will be taken to ensure this doesn't happen again. To that end, I wonder if Jack's unexpectedly violent behavior might have been a result of too much pressure being placed on his young shoulders. I am speaking specifically of the new child with special needs who both Jack and Julian were asked to befriend. In retrospect, and having now seen the child in question at various school functions and in the class pictures, I think it may have been too much to ask of our children to be able to process all of that. Certainly, when Julian mentioned he was having a hard time befriending the boy, we told him he was off the hook in that regard. We think the transition to middle school is hard enough without having to place greater burdens or hardships on these young, impressionable minds. I should also mention that, as a member of the school board, I was a little disturbed that more consideration was not given during this child's application process to the fact that Beecher Prep is not an inclusion school. There are many parents, myself included, who question the decision to let this child into our school at all. At the very least, I am somewhat troubled that this child was not held to the same stringent application standards, i.e. interview, that the rest of the incoming middle school students were. Best, Melissa Perper Albans. Who is that? Who do you think that is? Victoria. Julian's mom. What do you think of that email?
I don't know.
You don't like it. Why?
Because Jack is a good boy and he's in a very good reason.
Okay. So Victoria just said that Melissa Perper Albans is Julian's mom. She said she did not like this email because she knows Jack is a good boy who did what he did for a reason. Okay, let's keep going. Fingers ready to follow along. To melissa.albans@rmail.com from ltushman@beecherschool.edu. CC John Will at phillipsacademy.edu, Amanda Will at copperbeach.org. Subject, Jack Will. Dear Mrs. Albans, thanks for your email outlining your concerns. Were I not convinced that Jack Will is extremely sorry for his actions, and were I not confident that he would not repeat those actions, rest assured that I would not be allowing him back to Beecher Prep. As for your other concerns regarding our new student, August, please note that he does not have special needs. He is neither disabled, handicapped, nor developmentally delayed in any way, so there is no reason to assume anyone would take issue with his admittance to Beecher Prep, whether it is an inclusion school or not. In terms of the application process, the admissions director and I both felt it within our right to hold the interview off-site at August's home for reasons that are obvious. We felt that this slight break in protocol was warranted but in no way prejudicial, in one way or another, to the application review. August is an extremely good student and has secured the friendship of some truly exceptional young people, including Jack Will. At the beginning of the school year, when I enlisted certain children to be a welcoming committee to August, I did so as a way of easing his transition into a school environment. I did not think asking these children to be especially kind to a new student would place any extra burdens or hardships on them. In fact, I thought it would teach them a thing or two about empathy and friendship and loyalty. As it turns out, Jack Will didn't need to learn any of these virtues. He already had them in abundance. Thank you again for being in touch. Sincerely, Lawrence Tushman. To melissa.albans@rmail.com from John Will at phillipsacademy.edu. CC L. Tushman at beecherschool.edu, Amanda Will at copperbeach.org. Subject, Jack. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for being so understanding about this incident with Jack. He is, as you know, extremely sorry for his actions. I hope you do accept our offer to pay Julian's dental bills. We are very touched by your concern regarding Jack's friendship with August. Please know we have asked Jack if he felt any undue pressure about any of this, and the answer was a resolute no. He enjoys August's company and feels like he has made a good friend. Hope you have a happy new year, John and Amanda Will. Hi, August. Jackalope Will wants to be friends with you on Facebook. Jackalope Will, 32 mutual friends. Thanks, the Facebook team. To Augie Doggy Pullman at email.com. Subject, sorry. Message, hey August, it's me, Jack Will. I noticed I'm not on your friends list anymore. Hope you friend me again, because I'm really sorry. I just wanted to say that. Sorry, I know why you're mad at me now. I'm sorry I didn't mean the stuff I said. I was so stupid. I hope you can forgive me. Hope we can be friends again, Jack. One new text message from August, December 31st, 4:47 p.m. Got your message. You know why I'm mad at you now? Did Summer tell you? One new text message from Jack Will, December 31st, 4:49 p.m. She told me bleeding scream as a hint, but didn't get it at first. Then I remember seeing bleeding scream in homeroom on Halloween. Didn't know it was you. Thought you were coming as Boba Fett. One new text message from August, December 31st, 4:51 p.m. I changed my mind at the last minute. Did you really punch Julian? One new text message from Jack Will, December 31st, 4:54 p.m. Yeah, I punched him. Knocked out a tooth in the back. A baby tooth. One new text message from August, December 31st, 4:55 p.m. Why'd you punch him? One new text message from Jack Will, December 31st, 4:56 p.m. I don't know. One new text message from August, December 31st, 4:58 p.m. Liar. I bet he said something about me, right? One new text message from Jack Will, December 31st, 5:02 p.m. He's a jerk, but I was a jerk too. Really, really, really sorry for what I said, dude, okay? Can we be friends again? One new text message from August, December 31st, 5:03 p.m. Okay. One new text message from Jack Will, December 31st, 5:04 p.m. Awesome. One new text message from August, December 31st, 5:06 p.m. But tell me the truth, okay? Would you really want to kill yourself if you were me? One new text message from Jack Will, December 31st, 5:08 p.m. No, I swear on my life. But dude, I would want to kill myself if I were Julian. Winky face. One new text message from August, December 31st, 5:10 p.m. LOL. Yes, dude, we're friends again. Chapter 14, Back from Winter Break. Despite what Tushman said, there was no clean slate when I went back to school in January. In fact, things were totally weird from the second I got to my locker in the morning. I'm next to Amos, who's always been a pretty straight-up kid, and I was like, yo, what's up? And he basically just nodded a half hello and closed his locker door and left. I was like, okay, that was bizarre. And then I said, hey, what up, to Henry, who didn't even bother half smiling, but just looked away. Okay, so something's up. Dissed by 2 people in less than 5 minutes. Not that anyone's counting. I thought I'd try one more time with Tristan, and boom, same thing. He actually looked nervous, like he was afraid of talking to me. I've got a form of the plague now, is what I thought. This is Julian's payback. And that's pretty much how it went all morning. Nobody talked to me. Well, not true. The girls were totally normal with me. And August talked to me, of course. And actually, I have to say both Maxes said hello, which made me feel kind of bad for never, ever hanging out with them in the 5 years I've been in their class. I hoped lunch would be better, but it wasn't. I sat down at my usual table with Luca and Isaiah. I guess I thought since they weren't in the super popular group, but were kind of middle of the road jock kids, that I'd be safe with them. But they barely nodded when I said hello. Then, when our table was called, they got their lunches and never came back. I saw them find a table way over at the other end of the cafeteria. They weren't at Julian's table, but they were near him, like on the fringe of popularity. So anyway, I'd been ditched. I knew table switching was something that happened in the 5th grade, but I never thought it would happen to me. It felt really awful being at the table by myself. I felt like everyone was watching me. It also made me feel like I had no friends. I decided to skip lunch and go read in the library. And remember, make sure you're following along with your finger. Chapter 15, The War. It was Charlotte who had the inside scoop on why everyone was dissing me. I found a note inside my locker at the end of the day. Meet me in room 301 right after school. Come by yourself, Charlotte. She was already inside the room when I walked in. Sup, I said. Hey, she said. She went over to the door, looked left and right, and then closed the door and locked it from the inside. Then she turned to face me and started biting her nail as she talked. Look, I feel bad about what's going on, and I just wanted to tell you what I know. Promise you won't tell anyone I talked to you? Promise. So, Julian had this huge holiday party over winter break, she said. I mean huge. My sister's friend had her Sweet 16 at the same place last year. There were like 200 people there, so I mean, it's a huge place. Yeah, and? Yeah, and, well, pretty much everybody in the school, in the whole grade was there. Not everybody, I joked. Right, not everybody, duh. But like even parents were there, you know? Like my parents were there. You know Julian's mom is the vice president of the school board, right? So she knows a lot of people. Anyway, so basically what happened at the party was that Julian went around telling everyone that you punched him because you had emotional problems. What? And that you would have gotten expelled, but his parents begged the school not to expel you. What? And that none of it would have happened in the first place if Tushman hadn't forced you to be friends with Augie. He said his mom thinks that you, quote unquote, snapped under the pressure. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. No one bought into that, right? I said. She shrugged. That's not even the point. The point is he's really popular. And you know, my mom heard that his mom is actually pushing the school to review Augie's application to Beecher. Can she do that? It's about Beecher not being an inclusion school. That's a type of school that mixes normal kids with special needs. That's just stupid. Augie doesn't have special needs. Yeah, but she's saying that if the school is changing the way they usually do things in some ways, but they're not changing anything. Yeah, they did. Didn't you notice they changed the theme of the New Year art show? In past years, 5th graders painted self-portraits, but this year they made us do those ridiculous self-portraits as animals, remember? So, big freaking deal. I know, I'm not saying I agree, I'm just saying that's what she's saying. I know. This is just so messed up. I know. Anyway, Julian said that he thinks being friends with Augie is bringing you down, and that for your own good, you need to stop hanging out with him so much. And if you start losing all your old friends, it'll be like a big wake-up call. So basically, for your own good, he's going to stop being your friend completely. Newsflash, I stopped being his friend completely first. Yeah, but he's convinced all the boys to stop being your friend. For your own good. That's why nobody's talking to you. You're talking to me. Yeah, well, this is more of a boy thing, she explained. The girls are staying neutral, except Savannah's group, because they're going out with Julian's group. But to everybody else, this is really a boy war. I nodded. She tilted her head to one side and pouted like she felt sorry for me. Is it okay that I told you all this? She said. Yeah, of course. I don't care who talks to me or not, I lied. This is all just so dumb. She nodded. Hey, does Augie know any of this? Of course not. At least not from me. And Summer? I don't think so. Look, I better go. Just so you know, my mom thinks Julian's mom is a total idiot. She said she thinks people like her are more concerned about what their kids' class pictures look like than doing the right thing. You heard about the photoshopping, right? Yeah, that was just sick. Totally, she answered, nodding. Anyway, I better go. I just wanted you to know what was up and stuff. Thanks, Charlotte. I'll let you know if I hear anything else, she said. Before she went out, she looked left and right outside the door to make sure no one saw her leaving. I guess even though she was neutral, she did not want to be seen with me. Chapter 16, Switching Tables. The next day at lunch, stupid me, I sat down at a table with Tristan, Nino, and Pablo. I thought maybe they were safe because they weren't really considered popular, but they weren't out there playing D&D at recess either. They were sort of in-betweeners. And at first, I thought I scored because they were basically too nice to not acknowledge my presence when I walked over to the table. They all said, "Hey," though I could tell they looked at each other. But then the same thing happened that had happened yesterday. Our lunch table was called, they got their food, and then headed toward a new table on the other side of the cafeteria. Unfortunately, Mrs. G, who was the lunch teacher that day, saw what happened and chased after them. "That's not allowed, boys," she scolded them loudly. "This is not that kind of school. You get right back to your table." Oh, great, like that was gonna help. Before they could be forced to sit back down at the table, I got up with my tray and walked away really fast. I could hear Mrs. G call my name, but I pretended not to hear and just kept walking to the other side of the cafeteria behind the lunch counter. "Sit with us, Jack." It was summer. She and August were sitting at their table, and they were both waving me over. Okay. Who heard inkling? Who heard inkling? Aaron. Loudly.
I heard it when
If you have an answer, keep it in mind.
I heard it when Julian.
Who said it? Not Jack. Cullen, who said it?
Mr. Tushman.
Mr. Tushman. Who did he say it to? Victoria? What was he saying it in? Did he say it out loud?
He sang it in an email to
In an email to
Julian's mom.
Julian's mom. Very good. And what was he talking about? An inkling of what? A blurry understanding or vague idea of what?
He was talking about how that Julian's mom was wrong.
It wasn't an email. I'm sorry. It wasn't an email to Julian's mom. He did say something later. That was where another word was. Sorry, this wasn't an email to Julian's mom. I got confused. It was where another word was. But it was, do you remember, Zadie?
I remember what he was saying.
It was Mr. Tushman that said it. He was responding to, we'll get back to you. He was responding to someone else, not Julian's mom. That was later. Smith?
He was responding to Jack.
He was responding to Jack's letter. Good. And Zadie, you said you remember what he was talking about. What was he talking about?
He said, "I have an inkling of why you punched Julian."
So he was saying he had a vague idea, a blurry understanding of why Jack punched Julian. So that means he probably knows exactly what happened, which is why maybe his Jack's punishment isn't quite as big as it maybe should have been. Very good. Anything else about inkling? Victoria?
Maybe he knew he had an inkling of what Jack did because there's security cameras in the hallway.
Maybe. Or maybe he just knows people and that's how he got to the job that he's in right now. Could be. Okay, what about empathy? Victoria, where did you hear empathy?
And when Mr. Tushman was talking to Julian's mom in an email.
Good. And what was he talking about? So Mr. Tushman said it in an email to Julian's mom. Why did he say the word empathy? What was he talking about in that part? Aaron?
He was talking about Julian's mom and about what she was saying about the school and how.
Was he saying she was right or wrong about what she was saying about the school? Wrong. Good. But she was saying there was something else when she said this. That was what the email was about. Trying to tell her she's wrong without actually saying the words, "You're wrong." But there was a reason. Why did she say empathy? Who was she talking about having empathy? Or who was he talking about having empathy? Zadie?
Mr. Tushman was saying that Jack would need to learn empathy, but he already
Good. Mr. Tushman was talking about how he hoped that having these kids go to school with August would teach them empathy. But then he's telling Julian's mom Jack didn't need to learn empathy because he already had it. So he was complimenting Jack while also kind of quietly insulting Julian without saying the words. Okay, very good. Number 1, what concerns does Julian's mother express in her email to Mr. Tushman? So remember, like I just said, express means to let somebody know something. So what are those concerns? What are those things that concern her or worry her that she tells to Mr. Tushman in her email? Any questions about number 1, what it means? Don't be scared to ask. Number 2, summarize how Jack and August are reunited as friends. So in your own words, how do they become friends again? What happens? What leads to them becoming friends again? In your own words. Remember, summarize means write it in your own words. Don't copy it from the book. Number 3, explain what is strange at school when Jack returns from winter break. So remember, Jack comes back to school and everything's weird. What is weird and how is it weird? Put that on my desk right now before that ends up everywhere. Now. So number 3 means tell me what is weird when Jack returns from winter break. So yes, you are using text evidence, but all in your own words where you can't reach it, please. Because that's not any different from putting it where it normally goes. Any questions about number 3? Okay, number 4. Summarize what Charlotte shares with Jack. What is Jack's reaction to her news? Again, remember, summarize means in your own words. What did Charlotte share with Jack? What did she tell him? What is Jack's reaction to her news? So how does he act when she tells him? What is his response? What is his reaction? What does he say? What does he feel? That's a reaction. Any questions about number 4? Victoria, please have a seat. Make sure you're paying attention before that goes everywhere. Number 5, what happens when Jack tries to switch tables? So tell me the situation. Why did this happen? And then what happens because of it? What does he try first? And then what eventually happens? So this is not just a 1 or 2 sentence. This is why did he try to switch tables? What was the first thing? What led him to switch tables? What happened the first time? What happened in the end? Does everybody understand? Any questions about the questions? You can ask me. Don't be scared to ask. Victoria.
So about number 5, which part? Because there's 2 parts from Jack.
Is there any difference? I mean, like, does it say a specific time? So what do you think that means?
You write down what happened.
All of it. The whole situation. That whole situation. It happened over 2 days. Tell me about it. What happened? What was the end result? What did he try first? Did it work? Whatever. Yes, Zadie.
So, what you're basically saying is we can't just write what the first thing happened.
The
We have to
whole
write
thing. From the first time when he realized he needed to do it, when what happened led to it, to the final result, at least as far as we know at this point. Yes, Mason.
This is not a question for the story, but do you want to put a reading log on a desk in the...
Yes. Yes. If we have time. If we have time, yes. You'll just open your reading log. You'll leave your reading journal and wonder out. Well, because we have to have lunch first. I don't know. Well, but yes. Okay, remember, once we start, which won't be till after recess, you need at least 2 complete sentences for any question you answer. Don't stop at 2 if there's still time left. Even if you think there's probably only 2 minutes left. Well, 2 minutes is enough to get an answer started. So don't just stop just because you finished 2. Does everybody understand that? At least 2 complete sentences, 2 or more. Most of these questions, you'll notice, are starting to require more and more and more. Hold on one second. Make sure your grammar is correct. Some of you are doing awesome on the questions. The only points you're losing is for grammar. Now try to work on that, but that is okay. If the only points you are losing is for grammar, you are doing great. Keep it up. Remember, if you have high A's, like 95s and above, keep up the good work. It's probably, your questions are probably great. It's probably just grammar, which is okay. You're in 4th grade. I don't expect you to write like professional authors who are adults. But work on it. Don't make the same mistakes over and over and over again, because, you know, you have to learn from your mistakes. If you're making lower 90s, you're on the right track. You maybe just need a little teeny bit more, but you're doing well. Upper 80s, same thing. You're doing okay. You just may need to get a little more. Lower 80s and below, you got to work on it. You got to keep trying. You've got to really, really think. Don't just think for a second. Be like, okay, I'm just going to write this down. Really think. What is the question asking? What happened in the book? How can you put what happened in the book together with what the question is asking to come up with a great answer that you are really, really proud of? Okay. Yes, Victoria.
So even though if it's still 2 minutes, you give us an extra 2 minutes. 4 minutes should be enough time.
Exactly, because I told this to Smith, but I forgot to tell everybody else. If it gets to 2 minutes, like if the time is up and then I start the timer for 2 minutes, if you were in the middle of writing a question, stop writing the question, start writing the answer. Like in that last 2 minutes. If before the last 2 minutes started, you were in the process of writing a question, stop writing the question, start writing the answer. If you just finished right as the first timer went off, in that 2 minutes, you can write the number for a question and start answering it. That last 2 minutes, if you are ready to start a new question, just write the number and just start writing the answer. Does everybody understand that? Okay, Kingston, quickly.
It kind of feels like how I do it, like when I remember a question and I remember the answer.
Yes, exactly.